Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 147, Why Clients Aren't Knocking at Your Door.
First off, big hugs to anyone listening that is struggling right now, struggling with a lack of leads, struggling with getting those clients to sign on the dotted line, struggling showing up consistently, struggling with not knowing where or what's going wrong, where the gap is, what that missing piece of the puzzle is that you need to find in order for those clients to start knocking on your door.
Because it's disheartening, isn't it? When you see so many other virtual assistants talking about getting fully booked and having like all these amazing clients and doing all this work, and you're just wishing, like, why can't that be me? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, and you listen to us on here and in our lives all the time saying, there's so much work out there, guys. It's there if you want it. There for the taking. You've just got to take the action. And you genuinely believe that you're taking the action.
It's tough. So
really tough.
We've got you. We are going to deep dive in this episode with a whole bunch of questions. We want to be asking you some questions that are going to have you really honestly take a hard look at how you're showing up, what you're doing, what you're not doing, finding that gap. Because there is lots of work out there, but there is something that you are doing or not doing that is a gap that is stopping you from getting those clients knocking on your door.
Yeah. And I bet that the gap, that disconnect, that missing piece of the puzzle is not what you think it is. Right now, I reckon you think it's XXX, where in actual fact, it's BBB and CCC. It's something that you haven't thought of yet because you haven't taken the time to really, as Joe said, delve deep. We want you to put some glasses on, and those glasses are going to allow you to see yourself from a lead's point of view, an ideal client's point of view. How are they seeing you when you're showing up online? How are they? What is their first impression of you when you're in a discovery call?
Yeah. So let's start with, if you are not getting any leads at all, it's a tough place to be. Like, we really feel for you. This is the hardest, absolutely the hardest part in your virtual assistant business, is finding clients.
Yeah. You get up in the morning and you're full of enthusiasm and you skip to your desk and you open up that laptop and boy, you wish for there to be some new queries in the inbox. How cool would that be? Your DMs are quiet. The phone's not ringing. Where are they? What's happening?
Yep. Right. Let's get into some questions to really ask yourself and be honest. So I want you to think about, like, what part of your current marketing strategy, initiatives, do you think that really isn't actually serving you very well?
Do you have a strategy? Do you have a lead generation strategy? Have you got a social media strategy? Or are you just using it like a tick box exercise? Yeah, I've posted 3 times this week. But perhaps there's not any meaningful thought going into what you're posting.
Yeah, it's just doing it for the sake of doing it because you have been told that posting on social media is what you need to do. But if
Mm,
there isn't actually a strategy behind that, it's not gonna work.
yeah.
So where are those gaps in what you're doing to market yourself? Where are those gaps? You know what you are and aren't doing or are and aren't doing well with a strategy.
Yeah. Let's talk about services. We want you to ask yourself, are you offering services that are valuable to your ideal client? Is it time for an update? Have you been holding off narrowing down your services in order to attract that ideal client?
Mm. Are you trying to be everything to everyone, so attracting no one?
Yeah. Because that really affects that messaging that you're putting out there in the online world, everything from your website to your social media, your LinkedIn profile.
Mhm.
Networking. Are you networking effectively? That's the key word there, effectively. Not just are you
Mhm.
networking, are
Mhm.
you networking effectively? Are you reaching out to potential clients and building those relationships with them? How are you showing up online if online networking is where you're putting your time and energy in rather than in-person networking?
Mhm.
Are you hiding? It's easy to hide behind our screens, really easy, especially for the introverts amongst us.
Mhm. And just hoping that the leads will come in. I've talked about this before. Hope is not a strategy.
Yeah, yeah. What's your pricing like?
Mm.
Are you pricing your services appropriately? Are you too expensive or too cheap? Because you can absolutely be too cheap for the ideal client you're trying to attract.
Yeah, too
Pricing's
cheap can be
massive.
off-putting.
Yeah,
Mm. Too
yeah.
expensive for the market and what the market is willing to pay for the services that you're providing. Like, is there a disconnect there?
Mm. Are you providing enough information on your website or socials that attracts potential clients?
Mhm.
It's
Have
have
you
a now's a great time to look at the branding and your messaging and what that is telling visitors about you.
Mhm. Is your social media just kinda throwing up, they don't know who you are or who you serve or whether they would be a right client? So, like
Mm,
Sam said at the start, putting yourself in your potential client's shoes and looking through the glasses of your potential client. What is their first impression of you when they come across you online, when they see your social accounts, when they see your LinkedIn profile? What would they be thinking? What assumptions and judgments are they making
mm. First impressions
based on what
matter.
you're showing them? Mm,
Yeah, first impressions matter both online and in person.
mm,
Are you managing your time effectively? Are you dedicating enough time to finding these new clients that you so desperately need? Is actually finding clients a priority for you? Is it
mhm.
really?
Or are you busy being busy?
It's easy to do.
Mhm.
Really easy to do in today's modern world. God, I sound old, but it's so easy to do.
Back in our day,
Back in
when
our
we
day, we were the right type of busy in our day. There was none of this other palaver happening.
but
The
it's
distractions are there, right?
mhm.
More, I reckon there's more distractions today than there were when we were.
Yes. It absolutely is. So if it's really important to you, you will make the time. Is the finding clients important to you?
I mean, it should be. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's other stuff going on in your world, and we find this with virtual assistants that maybe financially they have got something else to fall back on. They've got that safety net.
Mhm.
So there's never been a point where they've been, I've I've literally got no money to feed the kids or to feed the animals. I have got to make this work. I've got to step out of my comfort zone. I've got to start doing the things I've been putting off.
There's nothing like a bit of pressure and a deadline, right?
Yeah. For me, I mean, food for sure. Like,
How are you showing up online? What is that impression that you are giving? Are you showing up online? How positive are you? How desperate are you coming across?
it's that vibe, isn't it? What vibe are you giving off?
Mhm.
Now, sometimes the only way of knowing this, because you might think, well, I think there's virtual assistants that fall into two camps. They've got those VAs that actually know this is definitely a weakness in terms of that. They know it's a weakness. They know they need to work on it, but it's taking some there's probably fear holding them back. And there's other
Mm,
virtual assistants that just don't know. They think they're doing a really good job. They think the vibe that they're putting out there is a great one and it is
mm,
going to attract people.
mm. Yeah. And this is not about changing your personality or being someone you're not online, but it's still that like energy that you're putting out. What is that? Is it a positive or a negative kind of energy and vibe you're putting out? That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, which leads in really well to our last question, which is, are you staying motivated and positive? Because it's very easy when we have setbacks or experience rejection to start spiraling.
Mhm.
And that's when the more negative vibes that we're giving off rear their ugly head.
Mhm. Yeah, like, are you doing things to keep a positive mindset? Are you doing things that are gonna help you overcome your self-doubt or, you might have some limiting beliefs that are holding you back? Are you doing any work on that? 'Cause that can really hold you back. Now, we're not saying spend all of your time on that and not actually building the relationships and reaching out online and doing that, but it needs to happen as well.
Mhm. All right. Should we move on to those virtual assistants that are getting the leads, which is great. Half the battle, right? Getting the
Mhm,
lead, but they're not getting the conversion. They're not turning that potential client into an actual paying client. And that's
mhm,
what we need. We need the money. We need someone to sign on the dotted line and start paying us money for our services.
mhm. Yeah. So that's why tracking your leads and noticing where in the sales process they fall off, they
Yeah.
go
So for
cold, they
yeah.
close.
This virtual assistant, they're doing a bang up job with the marketing. The messaging's on point, they're building
Mhm,
relationships, they're engaging well, they're showing up. That's fine. Great looking brand, consistent. We're now going on to the sales side of things,
mm,
which is it takes a completely different skill set. Sales and marketing, very different.
yeah. So what part of that sales process or your sales strategy do you think is not serving you well? Because you'll know.
You will.
You'll know at what point or what is happening that turns those clients, those leads off and not say yes.
Yeah. And if you are listening and going, I just don't know. I genuinely don't know. Then you need to find out. You need to find out from the leads that you're talking to why they decided to go elsewhere or
Mhm,
not hire at all or whatever the reason is that they're not signing on the dotted line with you. Gotta ask them.
mhm. Yeah, and by tracking your leads and capturing them and figuring out how many you're getting, how many are not converting,
Mm,
you can then work out like, okay, they're all falling off of my sales call, my discovery call.
Mm.
right? So what is happening? Have you got a sales script? Have you got a process? How are you showing up on those? What is the impression that you are giving? Can you record and listen back to one? Can you
Mhm.
have someone else listen to one to see what is happening on those calls and how that lead is getting turned off?
Yeah. That's uncomfortable. That is gonna be uncomfortable. I I can't imagine there is one virtual assistant that does actually have the balls to do that, to ask a lead, "Hey, do you mind if we record this just for my learning purposes, my growth, my own growth?" And then either A, sit down and watch the whole thing themselves without feeling really, really sick, or B, being really vulnerable and sharing that with a coach or a mentor or a fellow, virtual assistant, an accountability buddy, and
Mhm.
going, "Hey, this is it. I need help. I know this is what's letting me down. How am I coming across?"
And this is something that we've done in the members club for those who feel like they need to work on their discovery calls. So we have a sales script in the members club, but it's one thing having the sales script, it's another thing like being able to deliver that and having a practice and getting some feedback on your discovery call.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Some of them really struggle, some of them do really well, and understanding where their gaps are and language changes and how they bring up money and pauses, all of that comes into delivering a really great sales call and getting them to say yes.
Not talking too much. You just want to be talking the right amount.
Mhm.
I love that you brought up pauses, though.
Mm.
Sometimes those pauses, as uncomfortable as they are, that is where all of the important action is taking place from the client's point of view. That's where they're basically making their decision when you
That's where they
give
convince
them time.
themselves. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and our last one is, are you following up with leads and potential clients in a timely manner? And in a way in which that you're not, we've talked about this in another podcast episode, that you're doing it in a way that you're not coming across as annoying or stalkerish or off-putting,
Or desperate.
desperate, pushy, all of those things.
Yeah. And equally, not just leaving them to go cold and not following them up and not showing how proactive you are in using your initiative because they're making judgments on you this whole way through. So if you're not proactive and it's not a smooth process, that's going to give a really poor impression to that client about how you're going to be able to deliver services and what you're going to be able to do for them and their business.
Yeah. Are you just washing your hands of every lead that approaches you that doesn't want to hire you within the first 5 minutes of talking to you? Are you just going, "Oh, well, there we go. They're not interested."
Mm,
Or are you putting some time into nurturing them because they may just not be ready?
yeah. Really taking an honest look at where your gaps are. Where are those leads falling off? Where are they going cold? What do you need to work on? What do you need to get some training in? What do you need to revamp? What do you need to put into your business, into your sales process, your strategy?
Mm. We've got some other podcast episodes that we have recorded because there's a lot of them. I mean, as you know, you're up to 147 in this episode. So there's a lot of other episodes that you can now go to in order to learn a little bit more about some of the specifics that we were just talked about. So episode 45, oh, ouch, desperation is ugly. Episode 132, stand your ground or compromise. Because sometimes, look, negotiation is a big part of business. Oh, Joe, as much as it pains me to even bring this one up, it's an important one. Episode 88. At what point do you give up?
Mhm. Oof, that one's harsh.
That is harsh.
Okay, that was a lot. A lot of questions to ask yourself, a lot of deep diving. And remember too, it's not about, yes, I've ticked the box on all of those things. It's about, do you have an actual strategy for each of those things? And if you don't, that's where you might need to come into the members club.
Mm.
In the Members Club Mastermind, we do reviews of your online presence. We have a sales discovery call, a sales pitch template. We can review your sales call. We can ask you these questions, have a look and actually see what you are actually doing so that we can discover those gaps for you and give you the resources you need to fill them. So if that is you, head on over to the Members Club and we'd love to help you there. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the Members Club and the amazing resources, training and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.